get the last minute people. Also, so give me a shout out so I know where everyone's from. Someone, I can hear you perfect. Just to see where everyone's coming from today to watch the webinar. Also, Central Alberta, Newfoundland, Prince George, Calgary, Bolton, everywhere, Kitchener, woo, Toronto. Awesome. They're coming in where everybody's from. From the US, from San Antonio, Texas. Welcome. Denver, Saskatoon, Mississauga. Perfect. Everywhere. We have people from everywhere. I thank you for being here. Just before we start, more places. Before we start, I just want to mention, please let's keep the questions towards the end so that we can go through the slides in a timely manner, and then we'll leave towards the end all the questions to answer, okay? So let's hold off on the questions until the end, okay? I really appreciate that. From Fredericton, from Nova Scotia, hello. Drumheller, Collingwood, hi Marissa. Lots of people from everywhere. Okay, so we have, so it is 1 o'clock, so we're going to start our webinar. Welcome from Calgary, welcome from Northern Ontario, welcome everyone from Hungary, greetings, welcome. Okay, so thank you everyone for being here. Today's RefectoCil webinar, and today, as we know, it's about brow styling. I also want to send my apologies for anybody that got mistaken with the timings. Sorry about that. It is 1 p.m., so everybody is here. We did send out an apology about the timing, so sorry about that. So our webinar today is about brow styling, but it's about custom coloring and shaping. Oh, one more thing too before we continue. If, because of the internet kind of might work a little bit slower today or any day, if you're having issues, just reload and it should get you back into the chat, into the webinar, okay? So just reload and you can get back into, even if it freezes, just reload, okay? So welcome everyone. So it's about custom coloring. So how can we make use of all the colors from RefectoCil? You can't see my lash and brow bar here, but if many of you might not know, RefectoCil has 8 colors. 8 colors and then the bleaching paste. So how can we utilize all the colors and be able to expand our coloring for our customers and cater it to what look they want? So if it is that they want to have a purple brow, you can do a purple brow by mixing the colors. So custom coloring will help you to expand your clients, expand your options, get creative, be fun with all the colors and utilize all the colors. And then the bleaching paste, how you can incorporate the bleaching paste into your services as well. Okay, so we're going to go through our slide. And we're going to start with our first slide here. And obviously it's all about brows, brows, brows. Very, very important, the brows and how they frame the face and give style. They are a long-term trend, no end in sight. So brows will always be a topic, and people will always be doing something to emphasize their brows or to be able to frame their face. So, and we can see that more and more brow bars specializing on brow shaping and tinting are popping up, just to specialize in brows. Then we're going to go to the next slide here, just showing in the middle picture is the model with her natural colors of her brows. When you see the arrows pointing outwards to the left side of the screen, you can see that her brows have been bleached. So that's what they would look like if you bleached them. And we'll go through the slide that shows how many levels we can bleach. But then the other side shows the contrast. So if you want to get that deep contrast in the brows, what do you have to do? And that's when the bleaching comes into play. So we'll go through that as well about the contrast brows. Okay. So So let's go to the next slide. And in this presentation, we're going to be talking about the consultation. And in our consultation, it should be done 48 hours in advance prior to their service. Your consultation should not, and with your patch test, should not be done in the same seating of the service. Okay, you need to find out from that client what reactions are they possibly going to have to your tinting and even the bleaching as well. Okay, and then we're going to talk about preparation. Why is it important to follow prep and how to have your results come out crisp, fresh, and proper and long lasting. And then we'll talk about the shaping and custom coloring. So we're going to go through some different slides on how to mix colors to create unique brows with the colors, and as well shaping. We're going to talk about the RefectoCil brow styling strips, how easy it is in one step to shape and tint and color. Okay, and we're going to introduce a special information on a line called Caron Lab. You're going to get a little sneak peek of this gel wax and how it will be amazing to use it along with your RefectoCil brow styling. And then we're going to end it off with our care. Always important to have aftercare and even at home care. Okay, so let's continue with our first one, which is the consultation. As we mentioned during the consultation, the patch test happens as well. But in this consultation, you want to start by asking your customer about their wishes. What is it that they're in here today to achieve on their brows? What kind of look are they looking for? Even when it comes to the shaping, how much, hair do they need to remove, or the shape, how they want to look like, but as well as the coloring. Usually we say match the color to their hair, but sometimes you can uniquely change the color because some people do want that more artistic look. They might have lighter hair but want the contrast, or they might want the lighter brows, or they might want colored brows even though their hair does not match the brows. So it's how to cater to what your customer desires and make it look presentable and aesthetically pleasing. It looks good on them as well. Okay, so finding how happy they are with the brows that they have now. What is the issue that they want to change them up? And then you have your open-ended questions. How long was it since your brows were formed, either by a brow lamination maybe too, or by shaping, by waxing and tinting? What bothers you about your current brows? What would you like to change? And then your closed questions. Have your brows ever been shaped or colored? And are you ready for your new brow styling by RefectoCil? Okay, so ask them these questions. And as well, during this time that you're filling in a consultation form to find out there's some more questions on there as well. If they've done tinting before, if they've had any reactions before, are they taking any medication? It's important to know that too. We don't know all the medications out there, what they're for, but that's where your patch test comes into play, that you can find out if their medication that they're taking now might be contraindication to the tinting or shaping. If they're taking any Accutane or AHPs or doing any chemical peels, excuse me, you want to stay away from doing any of these services until they've stopped. And especially with waxing too, the skin is pretty sensitive and you will have lifting of the skin if they're using Accutane. So these questions are very important to ask to your client, and they are in the consent forms. And then let's go to, so when you do the patch test in that before, you have them come in before the day of their treatment, and you have them sit down, you go over their desires, you go over their consultation. In the meantime, you have put the patch test on them. So if it's the brow styling, you're just going to be doing a tinting. You're going to mix the colors that the color you've chosen, as well as the oxidant. You're going to mix it together, and you're going to put a patch test either on the inner forearm or behind the ear. When you're leave it on for a couple of minutes, wipe it off. Then when they're done with everything, they go home, and then you will give them a nice courtesy call. If they had a reaction severe, they will call you ahead of time to let you know. But if they haven't called you in the 48 hours, you will call back your client and find out how their patch test went. And then either you have already booked the date, or you're going to book now for them to come in and do the service. Okay, you don't want to find out later that they had a reaction when the tint's on. There is a condition called matarosis that they take a medication that makes the skin very thin, and because it makes it thin, if the tint is resting on the skin, it can actually burn the skin. So that's because of the medication. So very important to get to know your customer and ask them, what is this medication they're using for? Okay, now we're going to go to the perfect color, choosing the perfect color. So the eyebrow color should reflect an aspect of the hair color. Back in the day was back in the day when we were tinting, it was always straight, match to the hair, their brows, matching as well to the skin type and differentiating between cool and warm tones. And when you have somebody that is a warm tone, but their hair, maybe they've colored it and it's a cool tone, and they don't want their brows to be warm tone either, what will you have to do? And that's where our graphite comes into play. But if somebody has cool tone, but their hair is warm and they want the colors to be warm tone, that's where your chestnut and your red come into play, okay? If the hair color is very light, it's advisable to tint the brows 1 to 2 shades darker so that you can frame the face. It does help to frame the face when there's brows that are visible. I know there are some trends now, as you might see, and you'll see in the presentation, it is the bleached out brows, but usually those trends are mostly for like the runway trends. So if you're a makeup artist, well, you know you're going to use your bleaching paste to give that look, okay? With black hair and sharp facial features, the eyebrows can be 1 shade lighter to let the look appear less hard and dominant. Once again, this is for those clients that might want the more natural look, but you'll also have clients that want that more contrast look, as we showed in the picture before. Blonde platinum hair, but those brows were very contrasted and popping. So as long as you do it appropriately and make sure that it frames the face, having those contrast brows can look pleasing as well for your client's look, okay? Okay, so let's start going now to our colors. I'm sure everyone knows the colors that we have, but if you're freshly new to using RefectoCil and didn't realize that we have a lot of 8 colors, we're just going to briefly go through it in the slides. So our first color, and they're numbered system as well, so they'll go from 1, 1.1 to 2.1. So it's easier for you to know too by just looking at the number when you pick it up. So we have our pure black. Our pure black is more of I would say more of a matte color. So used primarily on the lashes. And then when you mix it with the blue black, you get even more in-depth, like stronger tinting on the lashes. But the black as well is, I like to use this on my African-American clientele too, because they do want it darker. I tend to mix the natural brown with the black, and it has that nice matte finish, okay? Then you have your graphite, which a lot of people haven't really, until now, more and more people are using it. When I visited a lot of brow shops to see how their RefectoCil usage is going, like how are they enjoying RefectoCil, their graphite tube was always full and not used because they didn't really know how to use it. Well, if the customer wants a softer look, instead of using a dark brown or black, if they want a more softer brow, the graphite on its own is beautiful. If the clientele is a more mature clientele with that, as you can see in the picture, with the silvery gray hair, the graphite on its own looks just beautiful, and it's got that cool tone to it so that it can match that clean white, the clean whiter hair, I guess you can say. Even if you've bleached it to give it that cool white, the graphite would look perfect with it. Okay, but also your graphite is what you're going to mix with your other colors, your blacks, your browns, to cool them down. So all your browns, they do have a warm tone. So if the customer has a warm tone and you put the brown on them, it will turn more redder. And if they didn't want that, that's when you take your graphite. Usually you mix it at a 1-to-1 ratio together to create that cool effect to the browns, and then it truly looks brown instead of it looking more chestnut. or red. Then we have our blue black. Our blue black, awesome to use on the lashes. Everybody that comes in to your store might even tell you beforehand, I want blue black on my lashes. And the blue black gives that depthness, gives that darkness to the lashes, but also has a gloss to it. So when it hits the light, the lashes will have a gloss. So it's not a matte like the black. There's no hue. You won't see the blue because we do have a blue tint. But this I started using recently, not recently, I started using for a while, blue, black, and black together for the brows. And I found the results were nice as well, okay? Then you start going to your blue, your deep blue. Your deep blue is gonna start being your mixing color as well to create your different colors of your purples, okay? And also mixing with your graphite to create that more of a cool blue, cool steel blue. On its own, obviously, when you're doing the lashes, and the lashes are blonder and lighter brown, close to the blonde, they will look blue. So if they're a Scandinavian clientele with blonde hair, blue eyes, the blue will pop on the lashes as well. But this becomes for brows your custom mixing color, and also if they want blue brows. Then we go to our natural brown. Your natural brown and your light brown are your most popular colors that you're going to be going through on a lot. And when you mix them together as well, if you want to create a more medium shade of brown, I take my 3.1, I take my natural brown and my light brown, and I mix them together to create a medium brown. Once again, remember that these browns, our two browns, have a very warm undertone. So if your customer, when you've looked at them and you know that they're a warm undertone, they have warm tones, you're going to mix your graphite in as well. Perfect for beard tinting as well. Our browns mix with the graphite as well. Then you go to your, we've got our natural brown, we got our light brown. So if the customer has more of a lighter brown, closer to the blonde, and they need that golden look of the brown, you can use the light brown straight on its own. Once again, if they don't want that more goldeny, but they want a lighter brown, but they want to keep it more cool, then you're going to mix it with the graphite as well. Then we have our chestnut. The chestnut color, beautiful, beautiful on its own. If you have a customer that has that reddish, auburnish hair, more of an auburn hair, the chestnut on its own on the brows looks beautiful. Obviously, if the brows are going to be very, very dark, they're going to be more to the black, darker brown, more to the black end. You won't be able to see the chestnut unless you bleach the brows. But if the customer has light brows and you has auburn hair and you put that chestnut, beautiful on its own. But the chestnut, along with the red, these are also your mixing colors to create warmth to your cool tones. So to your blacks, to your graphites, because you're going to add more of the red to your graphite to warm it down, or your blacks or your browns. But as well, the red, when you mix it with your blue, you create your purple hue. And we're going to go through those slides of custom color, custom mixing. On its own, the red too, as you can see in the model here, if they have red hair, lighter brows, for sure you can put the red on there. If you want to tone down the red a little bit, not make it so overwhelming, you can put some chestnut in it as well. But if the brows are dark, black, you can't lift the black, so you would have to bleach them. And we'll go through the slides for the bleaching as well. And then so we've done our 8 colors, and now our last slide would be for the colors would be your blonde brow. So not to get this mixed as a lighter brown or a blonde tint. It's not, it's a bleaching paste. So it's going to be stripping away color that you have in order for you to be able to deposit new color or achieve colors that you're not able to if you have black, dark brows. Okay, so that's our bleaching paste, and made ideally for the brows, so it's safer to use on this area, along with our 6%, sorry, not 6%, 3% peroxide. Okay, so our 10 volume 3% peroxide, safe enough to bleach the brows. Stray away from using the bleach that you have in your bowls if you are a hairstylist, using that on the brows, because the level of peroxide is pretty high on there and not safe to be working on the hairs on the brow and as well on the close to the eye area as well. So we're going to be going into the we're going to be going into the bleaching slides as well, so you can see how to use it and how to mix it. Okay. Here we have some before and after pictures for you to see what colors they used to achieve this look. As you can see her brows before. You know, if they weren't completely matching the hair or given that fresh look to them, sometimes they can look a little bit washed out. And you can see totally how her face is framed once the brows are given that hue that's closer to her hair color, but even that darkness, so they don't look washed out. Even warmth gets into the skin too, because they used here chestnut and the light brown. There's more warmth, so you can see that in the skin as well. Our next one is here. She has a hue, I don't know if you can tell in the slide, but if you see at the sides of her hairs here, there is some lighter auburn color. So here they took the natural brown because she does have some dark sections in her hair, including some highlights of that light auburn look. And they did mix the red with the natural brown. So you won't get that dramatic red look. Because here people might be asking, why did they use chestnut? We want to give more depth to the redness, but not to overwhelm. And that's why it's mixed with the natural brown to give the darkness to match the roots or the rest of the hair that's dark, but also to give that highlighted of the warmth of the red that matches the rest of her highlights. Okay. And with all of these, we're going to go through some slides that show ratios that you're going to use. Here, when you're using red, I wouldn't put half and half. I would put pin size of red, because the red can become very overpowering if you do equal parts. When it comes to chestnut, I'm a little bit more freely putting, I put more, like I can put equal parts because it's not as strong as just the red. But be careful with the chestnuts and the reds when you're mixing. Don't do equal parts because they are over dominant. They dominate the color. Okay. Then we have the one that we talked about before, the contrast brow. So if they want it to be even more contrast, say they have dark brows, but the contrast is not that effective, it doesn't seem that pop, that brisk, that color, that depthness, you can actually bleach the brows before. And here what happens is that they bleach before, and we're going to go through the levels of how long you can leave the bleach. There's only 3 levels, and depending on the level that you leave it, that's how either darker or brighter the colors will get. So you have your bleaching, and then they mix their natural brown with the black to create that more contrast. If you had used black on its own, might have been too much of a contrast, too stark, too not framing the face, but instead you just see brows and nothing else. At least here with this type of contrast, with mixing the natural brown, you can still see the whole frame as well, and it perfectly fits all together. You're not just focused on the brows. Okay. And then the final before and after that we have is, as I mentioned before, usually I love using the black on my African American clientele, and I mix a little bit of the natural brown. If they didn't want it too stark, too dramatic the look, I mix the natural brown, and that's exactly what happened here, and frames the face perfectly. Even added some color tone to the skin as well. Okay, just by that brow being more visible. Okay, so now we're going to go into our preparation. And preparation is extremely important in order for you to have the outcome you need for your colors, as well as them lasting the duration that they should last. So you're going to start off first with your Micellar eye makeup remover. Even if they come and it's non-oily, even if they come in without any makeup on their brows, there are other factors that could be in the way, as the environment, the pollution, sweat. So maybe some makeup that didn't completely come out, maybe they weren't a little bit vigorous with cleaning their makeup and there's still some residues left. So please still do the portion of of using your non-oily eye makeup remover. And also this one here, the non-oily eye makeup remover, has lash strengthening properties. It strengthens the hair on your lashes and your brows. So when I'm bleaching, I actually remove the bleach with the Micellar eye makeup remover because I process the hair, I've stripped the hair. I want to give back its nutrients and that strength to the hair. So I remove it with the eye makeup remover. So that's something nice to have in your station, is the RefectoCil Micellar eye makeup remover that is lash and brow strengthening as well. Okay. So as you prepped and you've done this, if you wish to use a saline solution, I like using the saline solution as well because it makes the colors even more brisker because it's degreased everything, it's removed everything, even that makeup remover, and now you have a clean canvas to work with. So I would say incorporate the saline solution as well. Usually we use the saline solution for bleaching and your lifts and your curls for your lashes and your lift for your brows, as lashes and brows. It's important to use the saline solution. But when it comes to tint, I found as well that it does add a nice crisp, the colors come out more crisper. So add it into your prep steps. Then after you've done that, if you're going to do a shaping service, please tint first and then wax second. Two reasons. If you were to wax before and then tint, the pores are open, so they're more susceptible to having a reaction because the tint's penetrating into the skin. As well, it's going to leave marking, it's going to leave staining, and then you'd have to sit there trying to rub these little dots of where the pores, where the hair was pulled out. So, and the third reason is if you tint the hairs before, you're going to see a full scope of the hairs. You're going to see what they look like, and then you're going to be able to shape the brows even better. Okay, and before we have our protection cream as well that works as the protection cream. So outline your brows with this, your client's brows with the protection cream, just in case if you're not going to keep it, because it's not, our tints are not meant to stain the skin, because they're meant for hair, and if somebody has more of a sensitive skin, it can cause a reaction. So try and keep it on the hair, and then if you feel that you need something to protect the skin and protect it from staining, and you having to sit there afterwards and trying to rub your client's skin and creating more of a reaction, use the protection cream. Okay. So now let's go into your mixing ratios. So now you've gone through your consultation, so you know what you're going to choose for your customer, what color, and if it's 2 colors, what ratios are going to be at. If it's going to be equal parts, or it's going to be a pin size of the red to your 2 centimeters of your tint. So here, the appropriate ratios are 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters of the tint to 15 drops of the oxidant cream. If you're going to use the oxidant liquid, it is 10 drops. They both achieve the same results, just preference of texture wise, but the cream is more that needed. Sometimes I find with brows, I might have to drop that 2 centimeters because some brows might be very thin and I don't want to have wastage. So I will drop it down to 1 centimeter. If you're dropping the color to 1 centimeter, then you're going to also have to drop down the drops of the oxidants. So instead of 15 drops, I usually say 7.5. You can't say 7.5, so I say 8 drops of the cream, and then 10 drops of the liquid will go down to 5 drops to your 1 centimeter. So after you've applied you mixed the tint, you've got in your consistency, you're going to apply it onto the brows. You're going to leave it, do not remove it in 1 or 2 minutes, even if the customer is freaking out. I know a lot of customers will say, I don't want it too dark, take it off, and it's only a minute gone by. 1 to 2 minutes, the hair is trying to process, the tint's trying to process, it's trying to open up the follicle, it's trying to, with the oxidants, trying to penetrate into the hair, trying to oxidize. So it's not going to do anything. If you were to remove it in 1 or 2 minutes, the client will be back in a couple of days complaining that the tint didn't last. Okay, so I start my timing for those type of customers at 3 minutes. So the ones that panic a lot, I start at 3 minutes. When my timer reaches 3 minutes, I take 1 brow off and I show it to them. And I say, is this okay? Half of the time they say, okay, you can leave it longer. You want to involve your customer so that they can feel at ease. So half of the time I say, oh, okay, you were right. You can leave it longer. And so I leave it to that 5-minute mark. So 3 to 5 minutes, I always find it's good for those clients that don't want too dramatic, don't want so much contrast, don't want the brows to stand out too much. Then 5 to 10, or even 5 to 15, 5 to 10 is for the ones that want a more dramatic look, and even up to 15 minutes if they want a more intensified look. Depending on the colors that you're using, your time will vary as well. If you're using straight black, leaving it up to 15 minutes might be too intense. So it might be that you needed 10 minutes. Okay. Red shades, they do take long to process. So ideally the process time is up to 10 minutes. So you might need that full 10 minutes when you incorporate red into your tints. Also, when the hair has been bleached, it is only 1 minute that you leave the tint on. It grasps the color super fast, super quick, darkens it super quick. So monitor that 1 minute. Don't leave it longer because the brows might be too contrast for them. In that sense, if it happens, I've had people call me and say, oh my goodness, the brows are too dark, my customer's complaining, water's not working. Always have the tint remover available on hand, okay? So you don't sit there rubbing the client's skin with water aggressively. Then it's your removal. Usually we try to remove dry first so that no tint drips down, and then you take a moist cotton pad and you remove it. If there's any staining, there's our tint remover to apply. And as well, we have our Aftercare, which is our styling gel. This is going to seal and protect in the service that you just did of the brow tinting. So those are the basics on how to tint. Now we're going to be going on to your custom coloring and then shaping. So for your custom coloring, we already talked about how we have, as you can see in the slide, our 8 beautiful colors that our tints last up to 6 weeks, and 8 of them are mixable. And then you have your bleaching paste that's not in here in this picture. We're going to start off talking about bleaching now. Okay, because we want, in order for us to do some of these custom coloring, these mixing and these lighter colors or these purple or these pinks, brows half of the time, if they're not, if they're dark and they're not light brows, you're gonna have to bleach. So let's go into the bleaching and see. With our blonde brow, you're able to lighten the brows up to 3 shades only, okay? Nothing more than that, and the timings will go through them as well. Here's 3 reasons why you would like to use the blonde brow. First reason is to lighten untreated eyebrows. So if I had platinum blonde hair, my brows are too dark, too contrast. I didn't like that contrast. I wanted to make it look more subtle because it might make me look harsher or maybe even older with that contrast. I would want to lighten my brows. And depending on the level 1, level 2, or level 3. If you want to lighten before a tint, so for example, as I mentioned, the reds, the purples, all these colors, if you have black brows or darker brown brows, it's going to make hard for these colors to show through. So, and especially with black, you can't really lift black, so you would have to strip away the color. And once again, depending on the levels that you want, 1 or 2 or 3, depending if you want more brighter, crisper the color, you can leave it to level 3. It will vary the timing. Now, the third reason you would want to use a blonde paste is for those gray, white, bristly eyebrows. So I have a couple of clients, even my mother, the grays that are coming out are so coarse and bristly that they do not grasp the tint. And you don't want to leave those customers unsatisfied, and you don't want to start picking at those, tweezing at those brows, because they're there to create the depthness of and frame their brows. So especially if they don't have a lot of hair. So you would need to pre-soften them. And it's only about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the thickness of the hair or how many they have, 3 to 5 minutes. And you just leave it on for that duration and then remove it. So you can, and then when you apply the color, it's going to grasp all those hard, bristly white hairs, okay? Here below here is your application time. We're going to go through the next, I believe we do have a slide. Yep, we do have a slide on the application time for your 3 levels. Level 1 is 5 minutes, level 2 is 12 minutes, level 3 is 20 minutes. So we do have a slide for that. Your mixing, once again, is 2 centimeters. Here you're going to probably most likely need to use that full 2 centimeters because you want to, and you're going to be using only oxidant cream, and you will be mixing 23 to 25 drops. Here you need to be able to cover the brows a lot. You need to be, I always say they need to look like white caterpillars on your brows. And because you're going against, you're filling them in intensely with the bleaching paste, you'll need that 2 centimeters. Oh, sorry about that. And then, just give me 1 second. When you're mixing it, I'm going to go to the next slide to show you. I've had a lot of people, when they try the blonde paste and they mix it, they're saying, oh, it's defective, it's very clumpy. You have to, with even hair bleaching, you have to work at it until for a minute or 2, until it becomes a grainy paste. Okay, so work at it, mix it, and then after that, and if you didn't get enough of the 23 to 25 drops, if you did less than that, add more, because that could also be making it not turn into that grainy paste. After you've done that, when you're applying it, as I mentioned, you have to completely cover those hairs. It's very, very important. If you don't, it will show at the end. It would almost look like, I would say like a zebra effect, but you'll have color, you'll have the brows that were the original state of the hair, like the color that they originally came in, and then the new color that you deposited. So you want to make sure that you go against, fluff it on there, put it on there, and go against the hair growth. Make sure they're fully covered. Also, using protection cream is very important too when you do bleaching paste, because it can discolor a little bit the skin. So because it is a bleaching paste, so just put a protection cream as well around the outline of your brow, so that when the bleaching paste touches the skin area there, it's not going to discolor it, lighten it. It won't lighten the skin. Okay. Here is our application time for you to know. So as I mentioned, if you want to lighten 1 shade, 5 minutes. If you wanted to lighten it to 2 shades, 12 minutes. And if you wanted to do the complete of the level 3, you would do 20 minutes. Do not go past 20 minutes, because bleach with the oxidant keeps working. So you want to make sure, first of all, that you wipe it off properly, but you also do not want to extend it to the past 20 minutes, because you can potentially damage your client's brows. And when you look at the picture here, when you look at the 4N, say for example, I am 4N my brows. If I come in, I won't be able to achieve when you look at 7N after 20 minutes, I won't be able to achieve that blonde brow in order for my color to be more crisp. So it requires to be double process, but most likely on another day. You wouldn't be able to do it on the same day. But if I came in with a 4N and left it for the full 20 minutes, I've achieved a 7N. And if I deposit, I can either leave it like that. If my hair was blonder, I can leave it like that and not deposit any color, because it fit nicely with the rest of my hair, because it was a more lighter brown. Or I can deposit a light brown, or I can deposit a different color that I would want. Would it be a cotton candy pink? Would it be a purple? But that's how it would work. Then when you go to your removal time, I believe, did we have the removal? Oh, as I mentioned, so it's right here. Your application, remove the bleaching paste with a wet cotton pad. But as I mentioned, I do use the RefectoCil Micellar Eye Makeup Remover. I use that to remove the bleaching paste. Okay. Amazing, because it's got hair strengthening properties in it. It's going to put moisture back into the hair that was just stripped. So if you want, you can remove first with a dry cotton swab, with a quiet cotton round, and then do a wet cotton round with your makeup remover, and then wipe it off. Okay. So now we're going to look at, as I mentioned, this is just a reminder, just for the eyebrows, not for lashes. Surprisingly, I did have a lot of people ask me, can we bleach, can we use this on the lashes? So no, we cannot. Only with the oxidant cream, not the liquid. Must not be mixed with other colors, because this is a mistake some people were making. They were buying it off the shelf thinking it's a blonde brow, like it's a lighter brown, like a golden brown, and they would start mixing it with other colors too, and thinking that they're going to achieve a golden brown. No, it's a bleaching paste, so don't mix it with any colors. Lighten up first, then you deposit the colors, and do not leave on longer than 20 minutes, because it will damage the hair. We're going to go through some slides. Some of these are repetitive, but these are our little color swatches, or like our charts that can show what your mixing ratios and your times would be. If you wanted, for example, a natural look, I did mention to you before that I like to mix both browns to create that medium look brown. So it is a little bit more, not too light, but nice and soft for those customers that want that natural look. For the warm shades, I did mention, and here it would be equal parts, your browns. But when you see here the warm shades, if I'm mixing the red with the light brown, it's only a pin size amount. As you can see, it says 0.1. So that's a pin size. Be very, very careful. As I mentioned, I've had when I've done classes where the person would, the student too, when I did at schools, they put too much red where it ends up looking like Ronald McDonald red brows, as opposed to when they were trying to do the purple. So be very careful. Then you have your cool shades, as I mentioned, with your graphite. I love graphite. It's my best friend. I use it all the time in my mixtures. You can mix it with your natural brown, equal parts, and the timings are, say, 5 to 10 minutes. Or the natural look 5 to 8 minutes, but that's depending on what your customer wants. It's giving you that breakdown, and if it's a customer that doesn't want the full term of the timing, then you can choose in between. So it's giving you that option. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the more intensified the look gets. Then we go into for soft brows. As I mentioned, if you want to keep it soft, your natural brow, you can bleach it first. So example, if I have dark black brows, but I wanted a cool, softer tone, I would bleach them depending on what level I want, 1, 2, or 3. It varies. If I wanted the more intensified of the softness, I can leave it up to 20 minutes, depending on how dark your brows are. My brows are pretty dark, so I can leave them on for the full 20 minutes, and then deposit the graphite on its own to give me that soft brow with my dark hair, okay? If you want the bleach brows, but that's mostly for fashion looks. So if you work in the industry as a makeup artist, that you work for the fashion industry and you're doing runway shows and they need that bleached out look, you know, you can safely use our bleaching paste on the eyebrow. Then we have where we come into these fun colors, okay? So if you want to get the pastel type, which is your cotton candy pink, this is where you will need to bleach first, because if the brows are too dark, you won't be able to see that hue of the cotton candy pink. This is actually my favorite, even doing like a rose gold. It's my favorite mixing. And then you're going to take your red and your blue, not your blue black, your 2.1, which is your blue, your deep blue, and you're going to mix them. But look at the ratio for your blue. It's 0.2, so it's you can say 2 pin size heads amount, because remember the one before I said 0.1 was a pin size. Now with the 0.2, you can do 2 pin head size to create that wonderful soft cotton candy or rose gold. Now when you're applying these colors on and you didn't get the ratio quite proper, you can correct it. I've had to do it myself as well. I'm not a hairstylist, I'm an esthetician, so mixing colors didn't come, I guess, naturally to me, or didn't come through training. Your palette, you can add to it whatever hue needs to do to fix the color. So for example, if I've gone a 222 red and it doesn't look purple, I'm going to know to add a little bit more blue. And sometimes I even add the graphite to cool it down. So you can add back into your palette, add the appropriate amount of oxidant as well, mix it, then reapply onto the brows to touch it up and fix the color to the desired look. Okay, so even if you make that mistake, you can go back and you can go at the same time and correct it. For your purple effects, you know, you're going to use your red and your blue, but obviously your blue is going to be more of a 0.5 ratio. So it would be double, even a little bit more double than your 0.2. So in order to achieve that purple. Once again, if you have too much red, just add more of the blue to it. And once again, I always mix. I've used to incorporate learned to incorporate my graphite too to give that cool look, so that the red starts to tone down faster as opposed to using just the blue. So if I made a mistake and my 0.5 of my blue wasn't enough and it was more red, I go back and add more of the blue and a little bit of the graphite to cool it down, to cool the red down. Then you have your blue shades, which you, as I mentioned earlier, you take your graphite and your deep blue, your 2.1. You take those and you mix them together, and it would be not equal parts either, so you don't make it too dark and you don't see the blue of the brows. You want to give them that blue steel kind of like look. And then you mix your 0.5. Once again, the timings for the one with the bleaching, you can see that it said 2 to 4 minutes. That is because when you see the pastel color, because the bleach was incorporated, the timing will be less. As we mentioned before, when you deposit a color after bleach, it's usually just 1 minute that you leave it on. But if you wanted here the intensity of the pink to show more, it gives you up to the limit of 4 minutes. Okay. And then you have your red. If you're going to use the red on its own to create that nice crisp red color, then you're going to have to bleach before and then deposit the red color. And here it's going to be just your pure 2 centimeters of your red, or 1 centimeter if there's not a lot of brows to work with your oxidant cream. As well, your bleaching varies. Once again, if you want that crisp red color, you can leave the bleaching paste for up to 20 minutes. Nothing longer than that. If you didn't want them to be that bright, the color, then you're going to leave it, either you want 12 minutes or 5 minutes. The longer, as we said, you leave the bleach, the lighter the hair gets, the crisper and brighter the colors get. So you're in control to manage the timing. Happy blonde, if you want a little bit of a soft bleaching. We mentioned this before, that if I came in and I wanted to just soften my brows a little bit but with the bleach because my hair was blonder, I can just put the bleach in, probably leave it for 12 minutes, level number 2, and then I can just walk out. For the blonde hair, dark brows, we talked about the contrast here, that some people do love that contrast look. And so in order to achieve it, you're going to bleach and then deposit the black. Here it's showing the black. But if you're a little bit worried, or if the customer wants a contrast but not that intense of just black, then you can mix a little bit of the natural brown. So these are the little like palettes, the little images that we have that will help you learn how to mix colors. So hopefully that was pretty helpful for you to start using all our 8 colors. Now here we're going to just go quickly into our shaping. This is the last part, because majority of people that come in to get their brows tinted obviously will want as well a shaping, so that they can leave with that total look, that total framing of their face. So here we have these beautiful brow styling strips that you can shape and color in one application. So it makes it pretty quick for you, fast, and this is good if you're myself. I travel a lot, I'm mobile, so I can carry these strips in my lash and brow bar and be able to shape my clients' brows and tint at the same time. So also these brows can be good to help you to, if you're really scared to wax brows, because we know that brows, you can make or break the look of somebody if you with the brows. So if you're scared to shape someone's brows because either you don't really do these services of brow shaping, but want to get comfortable and want to get that confidence, I found these strips helped me. First of all, the strips help you to position them in the appropriate way, and it helps you to see how the brow should look, where it should start, where the peak should be, and where the brow and where the tailbone, like where the brow should end. And then that way, when you start using these strips and knowing how the brow should start and end and where the arch should be, then you can graduate into freehand waxing. So I found these brows even have helped students if some of them don't find it as easy as others to wax brows. So they will use these, get comfortable with shaping the brows, and then graduate to freehand waxing. Okay, and then here are your steps with these. The strips come in 2, like it's 1 strip, but when you open them, it has 2, so you can do both brows. We do have videos of these on RefectoCileEducation.com. Beautiful video of the before, even what it looked like before and after of her brows. After you apply the strip on, do not pressure it down yet. You want to get your customer involved. At the beginning of the strip, there's a 1 dot. That one dot shows you that you need to place it by the bridge of the nose. That's where your brow should start. Then the two dots at the end show that where your brow should end. So when you take the end of your tip of your nose to the corner of your eye, that's where your brow tailbone should end. So once you place that strip in that position, beginning and end, the arch will be at the appropriate peak. Okay, you're 2/3 rising and you're 1/3 falling. So once you've put that on, get your customer to look at it, give them a mirror and see, is this okay where I positioned it? Is it too much hair that I'm removing? Because the higher you go, you might be removing too much hair. Get them involved. Once they say, nope, it's perfect, then you can secure it down so that from the beginning to the end, secure it down so that it can stick and blend well with the hairs there that need to be removed. Once you've done that, you have your tinting mixed. You mix it up, ready to go. You're going to tint right on top. So these almost act like a template as well for you to get your tinting right on the hairs that you needed. After you've done that, you leave on the tinting time to whatever time you want. There are some other pieces to the strips inside the box that are for your center here, or a little bit longer, narrow ones that you can do the side here and give a nice crisp tail if there's some people have hair on the side here. Once you've placed all those on, then you can tint. After you let your timing go, whatever time is, you clean the tint off and then you remove the strips, and you've shaped and colored in under 15 minutes and you are able to achieve a beautiful brow, a wow brow. Okay, very, very, very easy to use. And here's your before and after. So a client comes in with no shape to their brow. With these strips, see the arch, just the amount of arch that was needed and where the peak should be. And then where your strip is resting and where the brow should end, you can tint there as well to end that tip, to give it that proper illusion of where the brow should start and end. Okay. Then the little sneak peek that we want to talk about here is bravado. Oh, can you guys see that? Perfect. Is bravado. So something bold is here. What is this bravado? Bravado is from the company Caron Lab from Australia. It is a wax. And if we look at this slide right here, Caron Lab introduces a luxurious sculpting gel wax. So it's specifically designed for brow shaping and facial waxing as well. The esthetician can be confident in using this. Once again, this even gave me confidence, this wax, because it's a gel wax. It helps you to contour, to sculpt without any dripping, without any oops, you know, if the wax went to areas that you didn't want it to go to. So as we see here, estheticians can confidently sculpt and contour their brows with extreme precision. The wax will wrap around the hairs and remove the fine, fluffy, vellus hair on the first pull. So true. We've even tested it on the hairs on the lip, upper lip, and it pulls them off. Amazing. All the fine vellus hairs, when you flip the wax, you can see them all there. So the features and benefits, this luxurious sculpting wax gives you unsurpassed control. And this is really good, once again, for those that might have a little bit of a fear of waxing brows. This gel wax will help you overcome that fear and will help you to give the precision that you need for those brows. It's specifically formulated to have a gel consistency, which makes it ideal for contouring as it wraps around the brows with ease. It contains a high quality synthetic resin. So if you've attended any of Holly's webinars from Caron Lab, she'll talk about the what's the difference between synthetic and natural waxes, and why synthetic waxes should be mostly used, because they stay consistent, don't pull or lift the skin. So very important. If you can watch, I have a slide at the end that shows when Holly's next webinar is, to learn more about Caron Lab waxing. The gentleness of hard wax. It has a gentleness of hard wax with the grip of a soft wax. So it's like a dual. Like it works as a hard wax, but it is gentle of a hard wax, but grips all those hairs as a strip wax would. Perfect for brow shaping and facial waxing, even when you're working on maybe waxing the nose. It doesn't drip into the male's mustache. So you've got good precision, okay? And it's got a holographic appearance, and the scent is of honeysuckle and pear. And then here are your, once again, you can go to Caron Lab, North America on the Instagram. You can actually watch the video of how easily the gel gets sculpted on the brow. So here are once again the features. And then we do have as well, we added on here the Brilliance, which is an amazing hard wax to use on the facial area for those who are sensitive. So if you're going to use for facial waxing, these both the Bravado and the Brilliance are amazing to use, but if you have a client that needs that less of that grip and more for sensitivity, you're going to be using the Brilliance one. And it did win the Dermoscope Award for being the best sensitive wax in 2019, and none of these waxes from Caron Lab go brittle. So you're going to have an easy precision, like when you pull off the hard wax, you're not going to have your pieces of it staying on there or it going brittle on you. So I suggest please look into this brand for high grade waxes and to be able to give your customer a wax experience. Okay, so we've reached now to our care. And then we're going to go to our questions. So for our care, if you've watched other webinars, anytime you do a tint, a lift, a curl, any of those, you need to end your treatment with the styling gel. This is going to protect the hair. So even when you go to the hairdresser and you get your hair styled or washed, colored, and then you have it washed, they don't just wash it with shampoo, they add conditioning to it because you did have a treatment done to your hair and you want to give back that moisture and hydration to it. The same thing we want to do for the hairs on our brows and our lashes. So we're going to provide that styling gel and also to seal that treatment and to protect it so that it can last on that customer the ideal time. Then we have a protection cream. The reason why we have this here as a final touch is you can give your customer, because it works as a massage cream. So after the end of your lifts, your curls, your tint, whatever you're doing around the eye and brow area, end it with this massage technique. Take a minute or two and do these light tapotement, these straight movements, these circular movements around the temple, forehead, occipital bones. Give that massage to them. You're going to set yourself different from the rest, anybody else there that's not offering this service. You're going to give a beautiful quality service and a relaxation, make it spa for them by adding these massage treatments. And then home care. So now we know we're all self-quarantine and a lot of your clients are going to need some kind of home care remedy. These are beautiful. If you can get these into the hands of your customers. The styling gels we know is a day treatment, so they could use it every day to seal in their treatment. So if they had gone before quarantine they came and they got tinted and then they went quarantine, they would have this styling gel to seal in that treatment to last until hopefully when we reopen. But then you have your intensive night care. This works as a mask. So sometimes when you go to the hair salon and you get your hair processed, they have to implement a mask in because the hair, you stripped it or did something to it. So why not give a mask to your lashes and your brows as well? Nighttime, this is for the nighttime. And then you have a booster. So if some clients are looking at getting their lashes to grow, this booster will help that. It's got the ingredient of the sea rod oil and it will help boost those lashes and brows. I've used it on my brow to fill in any spots that the hair wasn't growing fast, and it's helped to fill it in. So this is a beautiful home care package. These two right here, the Care Balm and the booster, right now are a perfect dynamic duo that you can put together for your clients to ship out to them or curbside pickup or to start using now before we reopen so that their lashes and brows are at a good, healthy state. Okay. And the last thing is, is our brow bar. I emphasize this so many times at trade shows. Have this lash and brow bar in your salon. It looks beautiful. It's a caddy. It can come with you wherever you go, from station to station if you're mobile. But just on its own, organized so well for you to have everything you need to tint on there. But also if a client comes in and sees this, it makes a sale of its own. It's a marketing tool of its own. And a customer will be like, oh, they came in maybe for a waxing or manicure or pedicure, and they look at this and say, what's this brow and lash styling? I want that. And there you made an add-on service. Okay. So I advise, we don't have the lash and brow bar. I get this in. Also because it keeps your everything organized. I've visited a lot of brow bars and they're scavenging through their tints to try to find the colors, okay? Okay, so that's how we get wow brows, from either custom coloring to bleaching, and to shaping. This is how we can give your customers the wow brows. Before we get into the questions, we do have another draw on this webinar. So if you want to win a RefectoCil Creative Color Kit, so this is the kit that's going to have your blue, your red, your bleaching paste, so you can get funky with all those colors. If you want to win this, first step, follow us on Instagram at RefectoCil North America. And your second step would be create either a story on your IG or a post on what you like about tinting brows with RefectoCil. And don't forget to tag us or mention us in these posts so that we can see. And then we will announce either the winner through direct message or direct or through our post, our Instagram post. Okay, and then here is some information for you to have so that you know where to contact, who to follow, where to follow. So like us on RefectoCil North America on Facebook. Give us a review on Facebook too, of the product, of the webinars, of the education, anything. Give us some reviews. Visit our RefectoCilEducation.com website. This website will help you a lot to see these videos on bleaching, these videos on shaping the brows, but also the webinars that I've done. I even have on there bleaching I've done that, and custom coloring, and male beard tinting, and other services like your lift and your curl. So please use this as your further educational tool to know what to do with RefectoCil, the brand. If you need any assistance, any educational questions you have after this webinar, please we have the write down the email here, refectocil.education@cbongroup.com, and you can ask any questions you have there. Also, please wait about 24 hours to 48 hours to receive your message back, your thank you message to you for the webinar with the recorded version of this webinar and with the slides. Okay, so just give that about 24 hours timing. Our next webinar is Thursday, April 30th at 1 p.m. and it is a brow styling again, but it's on brow lamination and tint. We did a brow lamination webinar on the 30th of March, and we received such a high demand to redo this webinar, so we're going to be redoing it on the 30th. Okay, so hope to have you attend that one as well. And the final thing, sorry, we will get to the questions, is if you want to continue sharpening your education with other brands that we carry. For example, I mentioned about the Quran Lab. On the 27th of April, we will have a webinar called Quran Lab Bravado Meets Browista by RefectoCil. So it'll actually be Holly and I both collaborating together on this webinar to assist you and help you. Holly will help you with the Quran Lab as she's the head trainer, and I will assist you with the RefectoCil. And here are where you can go register on the Instagram or at the website. Okay, so hopefully that was left enough time for you to write down. And then if for infection control, it's only in Canada preempt, it's Health Canada approved for disinfectants. So if you're gonna sit in from the US for this, just know that it's not been carried in the US, but the information that we do give out there and how to properly disinfect and clean your surfaces and your tools, it can be crucial, it can be informative to you, okay? So it is, and then you can register at on Facebook at Preempt Disinfectants, or at our, I didn't put it on here, but our CBUN group website, but you can go to Facebook and register for our Preempt. We do have one happening on April 24th, which is this Friday, and it's a Q&A. So I'm gonna be answering a lot of people's questions on disinfecting. And then look out for more webinars are happening in May, okay? So let's go quickly to these questions that we have posted up here. Okay, Natasha, I have to go all the way up. Okay, give me 1 second because there is a lot of questions. Natasha, how do I bring it all the way up? Oh my goodness, it's not going all the way up. And I want to bring the whole thing up, and it's not letting me. The whole, to see where the questions were started. And try and be able to answer as many questions as I can today. We will be doing a Q&A webinar in May as well. So if we don't get your questions answered today, you can be able to go to the Q&A one that I'll have, but also that email, the refectocil.education@cbrngroup.com. You can go to that as well and ask me your questions. Oh, it's not going all the way up? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so lower, no, lower. We got all the hellos. Okay, so we're going to go now to, or just go, oh, graphite. So we had a question, will graphite darken the color? For example, 1.1 light brown, and graphite would be the light, sorry, I can't read that, and become deeper. So the graph, if you're, I'm just trying to understand the question, sorry. I can't see it, oh. Graphite can intensify the color if you're leaving it too long. So, but if you're mixing it at a 1-to-1 ratio with a light brown, yes, it will be slightly darker than the brown on its own, but it'll be a cool brown. So just monitor your timing with the graphite too. Don't extend it to 10-15 minutes because it will look darker. For the pricing, you got to locate your local distributor in your area, as it varies in the US or in Canada. You got to locate your this is a question for, where was it? Who was it? Gerpo. Just yes, and so please check with your local distributor. The recording is recorded, and as we mentioned before, it's going to go after 24 hours to your email. Just go lower. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yep, I already answered. Yeah. So we'll be sending a recording. So if anybody missed the beginning or they came in later, you will get a recording for this. So this is for Emma. Is there going to be a certificate participation for this? Our webinars do not have a certificate at the moment. It's just helping you further, it's giving you some knowledge in this time so that you can come back strong and use RefectoCil to the full scope. When brow gray, this is from Crystal. When brows gray, how long would you leave bleach on if you want to achieve a natural brown for a client? So if the brows have gray, I'm just having a little hard time understanding your question, Crystal, but if the brows have grays in them, you only need to leave it 3 to 5 minutes to pre-soften those gray hairs. And then when you put the natural brown on it, you're only going to leave it about a minute because it's going to grasp the color pretty quick. So I hope I answered that question. Fanny, what do you recommend when the client does not have any hair on all the brow areas? So if they don't have a lot of hair and it's mostly skin and they need that kind of staining and to create a more, I guess, thicker brow, you need to go to the sensitive line. So you need to go to the sensitive, RefectoCil sensitive, where you can stain the skin. It's safe. It's all plant-based, and it can last longer. Couple coarse hairs. Do you recommend bleaching them using the light brown? Sorry. So if they only have a couple of the coarse blonde hairs, yes. You can't spot check them. You still got to bleach the whole brow. Maybe leave it only 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes, and then you're going to deposit your light brown for 1 minute. That was for Jovan. Okay. For Alicia, how often do we use the blonde brow on clients, and how long after a regular tint? Also, how long after brow lamination can this be used? So a blonde brow, how often? Your tinting should last up to 6 weeks. So when it's time for them to come back after 6 weeks, then you can re-bleach them again if the hairs have gotten darker or the color has faded and their own color has been coming out. Okay, so I didn't remember the rest of it. Sorry, if I didn't answer the rest of your question, just please, you can email me as well. We do have a lot of questions. Do you recommend a tinting service for clients with thinner or more sparse brows? Yes, you can, because the tinting will create that full depthness, but also if there is too much of a patch, more skin, as I mentioned, the sensitive line. You can mix them both together, meaning not mix, but you can do your original first, tint the brows, and then the sensitive on top to tint the rest of the sparse areas and stain the skin. When it comes to bleaching the brows, what do you have to mix it with the cream rather than the liquid? Why? The cream, because the cream, you need that thick consistency for it to stay on the brows and to get into the brows. So it has to be cream only. With the liquid, it will not stay and you will not have penetration. When I tint first, I find it hard to see where to wax after, especially on thin brows we are trying to grow in. Where I've tinted the little regrown hairs. Sorry, the questions are really, really long, so let me read it first. So when you tint first, you say you find it hard to wax afterwards, especially on thin brows. Is that because the brows look much thicker? So maybe stick to just putting the tint on the hairs that don't need to be waxed. Maybe that might help you as opposed to staining the skin. I mean, going more further to the baby hairs or to the hairs that you're going to remove. Usually what people find when you do tint the whole scope of the hair, you see it fully where all the hairs are and you're able to shape it better. I have a client with very light brow that you have a hard time seeing. She wants a little color, but the light brown is too dark. What would you suggest? How long are you leaving the light brown on? I still would suggest the light brown, and I would put it on for only 3 minutes. So I don't know how long you're leaving it on. Cost for treatment, if you're going to be bleaching the brows and then tinting afterwards, obviously you got to add the cost of the bleaching, which could be another maybe $5 to $10 maybe to your added tinting service. Your tinting service will cost about for brows about $20, $25. So then you got to factor in your bleaching to that as well. Is a lash and brow booster lash extension safe? No, do not use the brow booster or the Care Balm on extensions, meaning that you're going to not allow the extensions to last the service that they're supposed to. You're going to accelerate the way of them removing, because our Care Balm has oil, so it's going to make the glue break down, and then the growth booster is going to make the lashes grow faster, meaning that the extensions are going to grow out more faster, and I don't think the client wants that. So it would be an aftercare after their extensions were taken off. What do you use to apply the tint? Any brushes you have. RefectoCil has these beautiful new brushes with the rose gold theme, and they have a spoolie, a plastic spoolie on the end to brush the brows, and your tips of your brushes, 2 different types of tips. One's more angled, one's more of a straight cut, and you can use them on your brows and your lashes. Can you use the blue black tint on eyelashes as well? Of course, the blue black tint is the most popular color on the lashes. That's what all your clients will request. But sometimes we mix the black with the blue black to add even more depth to it, because the blue black on its own gives gloss as opposed to the black on its own is matte. So we just mix it together to give more depth. I have a client. Oh, did we try this? We already did that one. I have a client with very light blonde hair. I have tried several times and have never been able to get her brows or lashes to take any color. So are you saying that her light hairs are more of the gray bristly hairs? Because then maybe try bleaching first, but leave it on for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending if they're thinner too. Leave the bleach paste first if you're having a hard time for the color to stay. Now, if you're not seeing anything after you've tinted, then bleach. But if the customer's coming back saying that the tint didn't last past 3 weeks on their brows, then that means your ratio of your oxidant is not proper. So you're not putting the amount of oxidant that needs to be put to help to drop in that color into the hair follicle, also into the hair shaft, also the time you're leaving it on. Don't remove it before 2 minutes. Start at 3 minutes, your timing, or else they're gonna come back complaining that it didn't stay. And also if this customer sweats a lot, swims a lot, or they have some kind of regime that they strip the color, sell them that styling gel. Sell them the styling gel to help protect and seal in the surface. So every morning they wake up, they're going to put the styling gel on their brows to seal in that color, and that way it can last longer for them. What is recommended? Do you have a training information webinar for the sensitive line? Actually, we're trying to think if we'll be able to do one. I'm thinking about doing one in May. In the meantime, for sensitive, somebody's asking for a webinar on sensitive. And then we do have on the RefectoCileEducation.com already a webinar, and as well videos. In the meantime, watch those, and we're hoping we can do one for May. And the last question is, what is recommended first, waxing and then tint, or the other way? First tinting, then waxing, because as I mentioned, if you wax before, you have open pores, which are going to create a sensitivity when you deposit the tint. And then also you're going to have a lot more staining, so you're going to have to sit there rubbing your client. As I mentioned before, you can see the full scope of the hair, and you can shape the brows much nicer when you see the whole hairs, all the hairs, especially if they're lighter. So this is all the questions that we were able to answer. If there were not answered fully to what you wanted to hear, please feel free to email me at refectocil.education@cbngroup.com. I can for sure answer you there. If you want to wait till the Q&A that I'll have in May, you can ask me there as well. I want to be able to help everyone be able to use RefectoCil to the fullest, to their advantage, and to come back to, when we open our salons, to come back and have new services added onto your menus and get going with lash and brow styling by RefectoCil. So I appreciate a lot everyone being here today. Once again, stay well, stay safe, keep our social distancing, and we'll be back to work soon enough. And keep monitoring our webinars, keep registering for them. And I hope to see you guys again. I hope to have you guys attend again in our webinar on the 30th. Okay, so thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you.